Record to the computer. Okay. Welcome. This is First Lego League Challenge, new coach training. I'm Frank Larkin from Mid-Atlantic Robotics. We have a bunch of people on who are new coaches this season. Maybe they're back from a previous season. Anyway, so really this is just going to give you the basics about what goes on with coaching a FLL challenge team. We call it FLL 101. I have to start by saying thank you because this season, last season, we, First Mid Atlantic, PA East, received an award from First for having maintained or retained the largest number of teams in a season from the previous season. And that is something that we constantly worry about. How many teams are we going to have? Where are we? And I'm checking that every day. My other partners, as part of First Mid Atlantic, we're always checking that stuff all the time. And it's because of you. It's because of people like you who decide, you know what, I think this is important. I want to get my kids into it, and I'm going to spend significant time doing it. But I think we all agree it's worth it. So I really have to thank you for all the time that you guys are putting in. So what is this? What is First? I mean, well, we're going to talk about First in a minute, but First is a global organization, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. And they have three programs: First Lego League, First Czech Challenge, and First Robotics Competition. I have been doing all kinds of things in all of them since 1989. Excuse me, 1998. My four kids were involved with it, and it literally changed their lives. My wife was in it, so we were all spent a lot of time doing this, and we still think it's important. Um, the age groups, they say ages 4 to 16 for First Lego League. Under First Lego League, there's three things. There's Discover, which is in kindergartens. You can't get involved in that because it's in kindergarten classrooms. And then there's Explore. Explore is for kids who are 6 to 8 years old. And then there's 9 years old to 14. It says 16 because in some of the countries they offer it a little differently than we do. First Czech Challenge and is for middle school, actually upper middle school, like 7th and 8th, all the way through high school. It's a little smaller robot. It's only 18 inches square, but you still have to do a lot of programming. You still have to do a lot to make it to be successful. And then First Robotics Competition. That robot weighs 150 pounds. It's built from the ground up every year. A lot of sophistication is now going into it. A lot of companies are offering all kinds of really cool things that the kids get to use. And I mean, I can't imagine what my career would have been like had I been able to do this. It would have been completely changed it. So it's really more than robots, right? It's STEM awareness. We're really looking for them to take on the hard subjects. Look at the subjects of biology and science and engineering, math. Take them on, and they get to see, by doing this, they get to see people who do this for a living. They can ask questions. They can see what's going on. It's really to get those kids who don't know what they're doing or going into thinking, hey, maybe I could do this, right? It's about innovation and entrepreneurship, right? You get a kid who's now going to be the leader. We had a girl who was the we had these things called swerve drives. She could take apart the entire swerve drive, replace components in 2 minutes, and never make a mistake. And she was, we were like, okay, Katie, go ahead. Katie wanted to be a veterinarian, but she took this on, and so she became, she was somebody who was very, very. We would tell them, leave Katie alone and let her get it done. So Katie felt great because she was very needed in what we were doing. And let's face it, it's 21st century life skills. It's computers, websites, managing people, managing groups, getting things done from an engineering perspective. So it's all of that thing: time management, critical thinking, bringing up ideas, baking an idea and making it happen. I mean, that's really incredible stuff. So as you can see, FIRST is huge now. Um, 3.2 million youth, and that's across all of their programs in 110 countries around the world. If you ever go to Houston, to where the championship is, you'll be sitting there with kids from all over the world, teams from all over the world, and you get to meet them and talk to them and see what their life is like. I had an FLL coach who is a biomedical engineer come back from that, and she was like, Frank, it was like a religious experience. My kids' lives have changed. My whole life changed. We're whatever you need from me ever, will help. I mean, that's how big a deal it is. So, what's the challenge? There are a lot of studies that they have been doing to keep on top of this, and these are some key findings from Lawrence Hall Science, UC Berkeley, a couple of years ago. Uh, oh, it says FLL Explore study. It's not. It's FLL Challenge. It's red, so it's FLL Challenge. And you can see that all of the things that they were exposed to heightened their skills in STEM. Just the idea that, you know what, I could be a robot builder or a programmer or whatever it is that I could get out of that. A lot of them are saying when they go in, oh, I want to be a YouTube influencer. Okay, great, that's wonderful. But what we really need are people to take on the heavy tasks, and that's what this does. It shows that that's working. So let's look at long-term development. I mean, you start with a kid who is in who is in you know fourth grade or even second grade, and they're moving up through FIRST all the way up through the program over their lives, and the impact is just off the charts. You've got this kid now thinking about all of these great things that they could do, and who knows? I was just talking to one of the team members from the team that I started, Lansdale Catholic Cyber Crusaders, 272 back in 1998. I left that team in 2019 to take this job as the FLL director. And she's now into her fourth year of a 6-year PhD in mech engineering. Looks like the same kid, but look at her. She's carved out a whole life for herself. And it's because of the experience that she had with us. So, who is FIRST? FIRST is a global robotics community. Okay, it's based up in New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire. That's where they are. Uh, the staff up there is pretty small, maybe 50, maybe less, but they have people who are all out in different sections of the country, like me, program delivery partners, managing different things for them. Okay, and they run these competitions. They're the ones that actually figure out the competitions and get everything ready to run them. They're partnered with the people at Lego over in Denmark, and they're a huge part of this. The collaboration is just really pretty unbelievable. Who's First Mid Atlantic? First Mid Atlantic was a 501c3 that was started back in 2011 with five nuts who decided that we should really get this going. I was one of the nuts. And we have a memo of understanding with FIRST to run their programs in our footprint. And our footprint is New Jersey, Delaware, and Eastern Pennsylvania. For First Lego League, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's a little bit smaller than that, but we're working on getting it all. FMA FLL, that's me, is a First Lego League portion of FIRST run by First Mid Atlantic. A couple of years ago, FIRST realized, you know what, we really need to take this over because it was getting people were dropping what we call the PDPs were dropping, and it was offered to us, and they said, okay, let's do it. So I came on as the FLL director. I'm also the program delivery partner for PA East. Along with me is Ernie DeSico, who's not an employee of FMA, but he runs New Jersey North. Okay. And then there's just recently the people in Delaware dropped FLL and FTC, which is another program. And Joanne and Wayne Morton picked that up as the Delaware program delivery partners. So where's our region? So as I said, it's PA East, New Jersey North, and Delaware. There's also New Jersey South, which is run out of where do they run that? I forget the college, but it's run by a different group. It's actually much smaller than ours, and we can talk about numbers in a minute. PA, well, PA between us, between the three areas, we have about 1,000 teams. Now you can go to the FMA distribution. I put this together, and it shows you where all the teams are. Those are supposed to be somewhat red dots. There's a similar thing for the Explore teams. And what you do when you go in here is you shut off some data you don't want to see. Like you could turn off. I did that. I turned off all the Explore teams, and you'll see the distribution of teams around PA, around our region. So FLL Explore, we already talked about a little bit. It introduces 8-year-olds to science and technology. Really, all we're trying to do there is get them to think about it and talk about it. That's pretty much it. It says it's a mini challenge. It's really not. We just want them to talk, have fun, talk, go see their friends. They are going to explore and investigate this year's program, which happens to be called Unearthed, about archaeologists. They create a poster, show me poster. Here's what we learned. Here's the things. And then they also create, using something called the We Do Kit or Spike Essentials, they create some kind of a moving thing. It's really an introduction to get them to do programming. Okay. And they learn how to interact, how to speak to adults. That's really what we're trying to get them to do. FLL Challenge is a little bit different. We're helping kids 9 to 14 discover the fun of science and technology. All right. They have to go and from the ground up, build everything that they're doing. Now, I know there are teams that are out there where the adults are doing it, and and some people complain about that kind of stuff. But quite frankly, no, FIRST doesn't care. I don't care, and that's because these kids are at least getting exposed to this stuff. Okay, and some people would say it's unfair. If we see at a competition there's too much going on with adults, we will go over and talk to them and say, if you keep that up, you're going to get disqualified. At least at the competitions, we want the kids doing everything. And we make sure that people understand that. We can't obviously follow them at home. So again, this season it's called Unearthed. So in Unearthed season, your team's challenge is to identify a problem faced by archaeologists and propose a solution that could help. Okay? And by a show of hands, probably nobody has a hand up about, yep, I know all about archaeology. I know nothing about it. I've seen dinosaurs, but that's about it. So what you're going to do is you're probably going to have to go on some field trips and go talk to some people. There's plenty of museums in the city of Philadelphia that you could find people who could talk to you. But you got to think of a problem. What problem do you have? Maybe it's our problem is the casts that we use. The material that we use to put on the casts dries too quickly. Is there a way we could slow that drying down? Right? Could be anything. Okay, so it may not be something earth-shattering, but it has to be something that you think could help them. Now, for example, one team already contacted us and said, well, we would like to do a thing where we set up a way for kids to get more interested in archaeology. And my partner and I were looking at us, and I'm saying, all right, well, does that fit what we have here? Is that identify a problem faced with archaeologists? If you wanted to spin it right, you might say, well, yeah, because maybe people don't know about it or people aren't taking archaeology in college. But you got to be careful. It's really got to stick. It's got to be something that fits that, because you might end up getting low scores because you didn't quite get that. Okay. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but your registration, your first year registration fees and everything comes out to about $1,700. And the big ticket item there is the Lego Spike Explore Prime Kit. You got T-shirts, you got your practice table, you might have snacks. I don't even have snacks on there. Now, we did have an increase in the cost of registration and the championships if you get to that level. Qualifier, you're all going to go to one. And the reason is because First Mid-Atlantic has to get some money back to help run it, because they pay me. but it's also the materials and everything that we help our the people who run this. We help them with that we need some help getting that getting some money back from that. All right. Team information. So our first website is midatlanticrobotics.com/FLL. Okay, midatlanticrobotics.com/FLL. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Oops, I didn't want to do that. Where's my Zoom meeting? Where's my Zoom meeting? Where's the sharing? Hang on. There it is. Hang on a second. Instead of me, just give me 1 second. It's probably going to be a little slow because the Zoom is eating up a lot of the resources. Anyway, coaches required reading is some of the topics. Teams required documentation, coach training, FLL project, MAR tools. We'll talk about that a little bit. Spike Prime. There's a few others out there. I think we've even toned that down a little bit, but a lot of that stuff is out there. Okay. Well, my website's not loading. It's taking its sweet time. One of the things you want to check out is the first seasons page. There's actually two of them: first seasons and info, something like that, and the first seasons page. Believe it or not, a lot of them have the same information. I don't know why they have two of them, but if you go to the website, go under Team Info, Challenge Team Info, and you'll see under Coaches Required Reading, those two are listed there, and you'll be able to get all the information you need for doing what you need to do. So this is the playing field as part of the paying that you did to get into the competition. You are going to get this rolled up mat. A bunch of you probably have it. You're going to unroll that, and that's your field. That's going to be laid out onto an 4x8 table that we suggest you build it with 2x3s instead of 2x4s, even though both are still legal. Most of the competitions you're going to go to are going to have 2x3s. One of the things you have to be careful is you don't want to expect that when you go to a competition, it's going to have 2x3s. It might have 2x4s. And why is that different? Because some teams have a piece that might stick out and go over the edge. And if it does, and it's just over 2x3, when you get to a 2x4 table, you may be in trouble. And we've seen teams come up to us and say, wait a minute, this is a 2x4 table. We're like, the rules say they can have either one. So build it as if it's a 2x4. If you want to put 2x4s, go ahead. But hang on, I got somebody else coming in. There we go. Okay. So things you're going to get an engineering notebook. Okay. There it is. Available on first season and first game and season pages. Those are the two books. I think you're going to get two of those. If you wanted to, you could order more. But it's available on, I think, the first game seasons page. If you go out the first game and season page, that book is available. I think it's also available on the other one. But you're going to have to print it. You download it and you have to print it. Basically, why do we have an engineering notebook? Any engineer will tell you when they're doing work, they have a notebook and they're writing things down. And one of the reasons they write that stuff down is because later on, if it becomes very, very successful and somebody goes to try to steal it under a patent, they can show in their notebook that they had all kinds of notes about how this worked and what it was doing to prove that they were the ones that came up with the idea. We do it so that the kids get used to writing ideas down. Now, the kids use it. What do you think? But it's there. It's there for them to do that. We also have a team meeting guide. The team meeting guide is there so that you can use it to plan out your meetings. Now, let's say you have 6 to 10 kids on a team. What the team meeting guide is going to do is have you break up into teams. One night, half of you are building the robot, half of you are working on your project. with the team meeting guide. And then the next night you're flipping. Okay. This way you want the kids involved because of the judges. They're going to ask, you want all the kids involved in the project, and you want all the kids involved in building robots and programming. If you have a kid says, I don't want to program, you say, well, we've got a problem because you have to, because some judge is going to ask you if you programmed. And if you didn't, that's a knock against your team. Okay. They all should learn how to program. We'll talk about how that should be set up. There's also a robot rule book. Now, one of the things I always did is I never read the rule book, and it got me in trouble a number of times. I was just too lazy. So what we did is we would have one kid who would become the rule book king or queen, and we would make them, because some kids just love that, and they'd be able to say, well, what do you think? Is this, can I do this? And they'd be say, oh, just a minute, I'll go look. I know where that is. And they'd come back and give it to you. And it makes the kid important on your team, right? I mean, I've had instances where people were picking on the kid doing it, and I go, hey, he's the guy that's going to keep you from getting in trouble. Knock it off. So you get the idea. That has actually worked well for me. You know, some teams actually, the very first night they meet, what they do, the very first night they meet, they sit down and have everybody read through the rule book. They read through the rule book so nobody can say, I didn't know that was the rules. Okay. And one person will read one passage, then someone else, then someone else. It's boring, but at the end of the day, everybody's involved. Everybody has gone through it. So what's the challenge season look like? In May, the team registration, we say team registration, that means the team registration was open to teams around the world. Well, at least in the US. I don't know what they did in other parts of the world, but August 5th is when everything was released. From now till December, we're going to have, I will be hosting a Let's Be Frank weekly call. Wednesdays at 7, not 7:30, because we have a committee that meets at 7:30. But anyway, and basically, you got any questions, come on and let's talk, and we'll get them answered. Okay. Early October, we will start the registration. I'm just about to release a participation and registration guide to tell you what's going to happen there. I actually am probably going to also let you, you didn't hear this from me, but the registration page is up there now, and you could go kick the tires if you like. Go ahead and just, we're not going to process it, but it's just so you can review it and see how it works, so that the night we open registration, you're not panicking, what do I do? So you're welcome to go in and try it. You can get to that page by going to the calendar, and on that calendar, you'll see events, and in there, it'll say, click me to register. So you could go and start doing that now. We're in review, not testing. Okay.
Hey, here to this.
Hello. Question? Okay. So now we're going to have what we call RQTs. What's an RQT? That's a regional qualifying tournament. Okay. Every team has to go to one of those. Okay. If you do well there, and that follows all the rules of first. If you do, and that's what you're registering to go to is an RQT. If you do well there, you're in the top quarter usually, depending on how many teams are there. If you do well there, then you're invited to the championship event for your region. And then if you do well there, if you're in northern New Jersey or Delaware and you're at the top of the game there, you get to go to one of the after season events, like to California or Florida or some of the places like that, or to Houston, to the Worlds at Houston. But there'll be more about that later. If you're in PA East, you now have to go to the PA State Championship, which is going to be in February of 2026. We have a state championship because there's 4 regions in PA. You saw from that other map, 4 regions: PA East, PA Central, PA Northeast, Northwest, and PA Southwest. And their teams, they have all much smaller programs than we do. So we end up sending about 21 teams to the PA State Championship. And the rest of them, there's only 36 at that event. The rest of them are coming from the other locations in PA. And you'll see more about that. So a challenge team is 2 to 10 kids from 9 to 14. We can discuss outliers if we have to. They're required to have 2 coaches. You have to get your first youth protection program background checked through first. And then PA coaches have to do PA Act 153 clearances, and that's all required. The PA Act 153 clearances are now being collected by First. In the past, we used to have to do it at First Mid-Atlantic, but they recognize that it's the state of Pennsylvania requirement. And there's go to Team Info, Challenge Team Info, and you can see under Coaches Required Reading what you have to do that. If you're like me, I've been a resident of PA for 20 some odd years. So I did not have to get an FBI fingerprint or background check. I had to do the other ones. One of them, I got the information immediately and it said, okay, you're good. The other one, it took a week and it just arrived yesterday. I then take those documents and send them off to First. And there's links there to show you how to do that and where they go. If you have questions and you want to come on the Let's Be Frank call, we can talk about it. Okay. Now, I would suggest that you attend a scrimmage before your qualifier. There's a list of scrimmages. Try to get into a scrimmage early. Even if you don't know what you're doing, go to a scrimmage because you're going to see what everybody else is doing. You can talk to coaches. You can get ideas. Everybody will like to talk to you. They love talking to each other. Okay. And then you're going to attend a 1-weekend qualifying tournament. I already talked about what happens if you qualify. Okay. But go to a scrimmage. Okay. So an RQT is an official tournament. The event follows the first rules. Many volunteers. In fact, we would love you to go volunteer at a regional qualifying tournament that you are not being a part of. Okay. And get your parents. We really need volunteers. We really, really need volunteers. We would love to come judge, learn how to judge. Actually, you should become a judge. You can't do it this year because you're a coach, but you might be able to judge at a different event. You have to find out, you have to go speak to the people who run those events. But as a judge, you get to see under the covers how everything works in the judging room. And that way you know what to do. Okay. So the RQT will concern itself with all aspects of the challenge. That includes the robot game, the robot design, innovation project, and core values. Those are the 4 things that make up your total score. Scrimmages basically can do what they want. Okay. And at Lansdale Catholic, we ran a scrimmage starting in 1999. It's been running ever since. So what's an RQT like? You arrive, team registration, coaches meeting, opening ceremony, the judging starts. During the judging, you're doing practice matches. Okay, you might get 3 practice matches. Lunch, robot. Now, lunch here is an hour. Sometimes it's only a half hour. And then your robot matches begin around 1, and we get through them all in those in that time. Around 3:30, 4 o'clock, we start the dance party. And that's giving our judges time to deliberate, get everything done. And then award ceremonies, handing out the trophies, and we're done. Okay. So when you go to a competition, you're going to have a pit. A pit basically is a table, and it'll either be a 6-foot or an 8-foot table. May or may not have a tablecloth. It will have power, 1 power block. Plug in your computer and your chargers for your phones. Please don't bring all kinds of Christmas trees and stuff to plug in because you might draw too much power and make the breakers pop on the line you're on. And that's just bad form. We don't like that. So we really want you to concentrate on making sure. I mean, it's great to have all these other displays, but you're killing my power because we got a lot of people on the same line. A lot of times, what teams will do is put up a trifold showing their project and what they're talking about, and the teams will sit there and practice right there. Uh, there will be practice tables. Sometimes you'll be able to take your mat, go out in the hallway, put it on the floor, and you'll be able to sit there and practice out on the floor. It all depends on the event. They're all different. Now, scoring. As I said, the four pieces of scoring are the robot design, innovation project, robot game, and core values. Your robot each of these is equally important, giving you 25% of your score. Teams forget that, and they do very well in the robot game, but don't do well in the other things. And they go, but we got 400 points. We say, yeah, but you were 10th in the robot game. Innovation project was hardly done, and core values, okay, you did okay with that, but your other scores dragged you down. Concentrate on all of them. They're very important. Okay. Core values is something it's interesting, right? The important thing is we want people well, we'll talk about core values in a minute. Basically, we want teams to act as if they're, your grandmother's watching you. I mean, that's important. We want you to be nice to people, shake people's hands, congratulations. What can I help you with? How can I help you? They'll all help you if you ask. And and that's the environment we want. What we don't want is an environment when back in 1998, I went to a competition in 97, and this team from a company stood around their robot and wouldn't let anybody near it to see it. And I was like, you guys, what are you guys kidding? And that doesn't happen anymore. Now people are giving seminars and doing all kinds of things to help everybody because they know that it helps the whole thing. So it's really very important. One of the things we have out there is if you go to team info, challenge team info, there's a section called creating world-class presentations. There was a team involved the last 2 years or 3 years ago in 22 and 23. They won both years and went to Houston both years. And I asked them, their kids are now eighth grade and they're going into FRC, the big robots. And I asked them if they would give a presentation on their presentations and how they did it. So all of that's out there. All that material is out there for you. There's even some information from First in Alabama, and he talks about how you should set up your presentations. Essentially, what we're saying is talk to the rubric. You can get the rubric. It's all available out there. Make sure that your presentations hit every note on the rubric. Okay? But I would suggest you go out and spend some time looking at that. So project judging. We'll do a deep dive on that later. But essentially, you're going to be in a room with your project and you're going to have judges. In this case, there were 3 judges. Usually, we're trying to get 3 judges to sit there and they'll go through it with you. You have 5 minutes of presenting and then 5 minutes of question and answer. And as I said, in that 5 minutes of presenting, you want to nail it. You want to get your presentation rock solid and try to hit all of the things in the rubric. Robot design. This is where you're going to meet the same judges and you're going to sit there and talk about your robot design. You can do a robot design presentation. How were you set up as an organization? How did you do this? How did you do that? What your statistics of your testing? What did your testing show? And what changes did you make because of your testing? Again, talk to the rubrics. The rubrics will guide you on how you're supposed to do this. Okay. After this 5-minute presentation, then the judges will talk to you for 5 minutes. What you want to do during that, when they're talking to you, you want to try to keep your answers short because then you can end up getting more. Questions in there. So you have to try to keep it so that your answers are short. Okay. Now, if you have to go into a little more detail, do it, but try to realize that it takes a lot more time. Okay, you're killing more questions. So core values. This was all enacted by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Woody Flowers from MIT, a wonderful guy, just very passionate about engineering and what he was doing. Um, you can look him up. You can look him up. He's all over the internet. Um, he's now passed away, but he invented the term gracious professionalism. When you want to go talk to somebody or you're going to talk, be gracious. Thank you. Always say thank you. Be professional. Um, and act in a way to make your grandmother proud. He's the one that coined this whole concept. And a whole subculture is built around Dr. Woody Flowers because of that attitude. Okay. So, like, for example, I had a team at an event, and if we see teams doing stuff, we might go back to the judges and say these kids are not getting an award. I don't care what they did. Here's what they did, and we'll tell them what they did. I had one team come up to me and say it was all girls. These three boys keep coming up and they're saying stuff to us. So I got the three of them together and I got their coach and I got them on a thing. And I said, you realize you could be disqualified right now for what you did. And I said, you know what you did. And they kind of shook their heads. They didn't even deny it. They shook their heads. And I said, but I don't like to do that. I really don't like to do that. And I said, you're going to knock it off right now. You're going to go apologize to them and then say no more about it. Are we clear? Yes. That was the end of it. So the robot game. The robot game is what you have in the in stuff that they gave you from first. Okay. And it's putting together. I mean, it's how many missions do I run? What missions do I run? What's my mission strategy? For example, my son is got a team quaking in our bots up in Quakertown, and he was trying to get them to say, "Look, you're not going to leave the boot. You're not going to leave the field unless you know you can get 60 points or 80 points." So they would look around to gain points. Okay, we got it. We got 100 points on this one. Go out, do a bunch of missions, and come back, or go to the other side. Read the robot rules. Read the instructions. So spirit is very important. In my case, on my team, we we were green and gold, and I used to paint my hair green and my mustache gold or yellow, and and I would wear a tutu. I'm 6'2.5", and I had a tutu, but I'm confident. I'm okay. But why? We're doing it to put kids at ease. Kids are afraid to make mistakes, and we tell them if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. Okay, you want the kids to be excited about being part of this group. It's really exciting. Okay, flair. You want to have silly things on you. They wear hats. They all dress the same. Um, some years we got ridiculous. We had costumes. It was amazing, and the parents put it all together. And there's awards for that. We would rather not get those awards. We'd rather get an engineering design award or a component award or something like that. But those are usually in the higher things. But you could get a spirit award or something like that. Okay, we really want kids to just have fun. It's very, very important that they have fun, because if a kid goes in there and they're not having fun, you know, and you want everybody engaged. And one of the things that I said to my own kids, if a kid is on the computer and he's trying to figure something out, you do not let the other kids go near him. You tell them, get away from him. Get away from him and let him figure it out. If he wants to call you over as a coach, fine. You go over and talk to him. The problem is the kids will go, oh, let me do it. And they'll get in there and push him out of the way, him or her. And with my own kids, I wouldn't allow them to do that. I'd lock them out of the room and let the kid do what they were doing. You got to make sure that everybody has an equal opportunity to be involved and to do things. That's just my opinion, but I think it's very valid. Okay. We're going to do a deeper dive on FLL Challenge 102 in a minute, but do you have any questions about what we talked about so far? No deep discussions right now, but go ahead.
Hey, Francis, Jerry,
Yep.
can I have a
Yep.
question?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of your slides, you mentioned, suggest 2 to 3 days per week, 2 hours per session. Is that something that people generally do, or it's something you feel maybe different teams, the varies depending on the schedules? Because some of our team members early on kind of have a concern about the schedules because kids are quite busy these days
My
with
my
open back
my own son's team, my own son's team was meeting one day a week on Sunday for 3 to 4 hours.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that's because they couldn't meet during the week.
right.
The team that I'm telling you about that won all of those awards and did it, they were doing 20 hours a week, but it was just the kids doing it. One of the kids' fathers, they were doing it in the father's house, father and mother, who were both biomedical engineers. They were doing it in the house, but the father said, I didn't do anything. They did it all. So it's really up to you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? All right. So I want to thank you. This is the end of part one. I'm going to stop the meeting and we'll take a break and we'll come right back.